Hello, everyone, and we are the Matriarchs of Fandom. I am here today with Miss Lady Gray, Miss Liz, and this idea came from Miss Lady Gray about a month or so ago, and we're going to talk about 80s TV show, just shows from our childhood. Now, I'm an 80s girl, I was born in the early 70s, and for me, the show times today are pretty decent, I guess, but nothing like the 80s. It had comedy, it had, hello, Taco. It had comedy, it had drama, it had talk shows, hello,
Sci-fi.
Rob, hello, Calibus. It had so much stuff. And I want to do part one, part two. It could go on for more, but for me, 80s was my time. So, the first show that I want to talk about is Growing Pains. Growing Pains came out in 1985. It did 7 seasons, pretty much like Father's Knows Best. And it's the Caesars, and it was Alan Thicke, Joanne Kurtz, Kirk Cameron was in it. Um, let's see, DiCaprio was in it. There you go. It was a nice show from then. And it was a comedy.
I think she may have frozen.
Did you watch Growing Pains?
There you are.
Oh, I did, and I came back. Okay. Miss Lady Gray, I was asking about Growing Pains.
I remember watching it. I don't remember a lot of the details because I would have been pretty young then. Not that we weren't, all young then, but I remember thinking how cute Kirk Cameron was at the time. I don't know, and I think that was the one where he was the doctor, and he worked from home out of his home office. And looking back now, it's like, wow, yeah, it's like one of the original work from homes. That's kind of cool. But I think that was kind of cool because it showed a father that was more involved in his kids' upbringing than a lot of shows in the past where it was primarily the mother as the caregiver, because he was home during the day so much. So I think it was kind of an interesting new perspective, and that was probably why it was so popular, because it was something different.
All right. Now, since you brought that up, do you think shows from today similar to that concept or different?
I think there are similar ones. I think they tackled a lot of, if I'm remembering correctly, they tackled a lot of hard problems, and I don't know that we would actually have I don't know that the networks would have the courage to tackle quite so many hard problems today. I think they're a little gun shy of that.
Okay. And actually, on my notes for that, I did put they talked about drugs, alcohol, and suicide. So you're right up point with that. Miss Liz, Growing Pains?
Well, I remember watching it, but that's about all I remember of it. It just never. I watched it, but I don't remember it. If you know what I mean.
Okay. I got you.
I recognize them when I see the people, but as far as remembering episodes or anything, sorry.
Okay. Actually, I kind of agree. I mean, some of the shows that I'm going to talk about on part one of this, and when we do part two, when I was Googling up the shows, I don't remember all of them. I didn't even watch all of them. I was just looking at the ones that I know that I remember stand out. Then when I saw the name, I might not have watched it, but I remember it was big. And I know Growing Pains was one of those shows. All right. This show came out in 87. It ran for 8 years. They live in San Francisco, and it was Full House. Now,
Oh,
I never watched Full House.
oh, I
So,
definitely watched Full House.
so I'm gonna go ahead with. I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak first, Miss Liz. I mean, there you go. Like what Lady Gray and actually what you said about Growing Pains. I recognize the characters. I can't name any of them, but I know it was big. It went on for 8 seasons. So, Miss Liz, go ahead. Talk about Full House for me.
Oh, I mainly remember Full Houses because of the kids and a couple of the young adult, the the live-in guy that took care of the kids and whatnot. But as far as remembering any of the shows or the storylines or whatever, but I definitely remember the kids, you know, a lot. I mean, it kind of made their, we wouldn't even know who these people were if it weren't for the TV show. You know,
So, what do
some
you
of them left
remember
their
about the
hearts that
kids?
way, huh?
What did you remember about the kids since that what you remember? I mean, what brings out these kids on this
The
show?
twins, the two girls.
There are twins?
Yeah,
Oh, Mary Kate and Ashley was in this one.
yeah, Mary Kate and
Wow.
Ashley.
Well, there you go.
That's who I remember the most, and I remember the two guys at the top. The
Okay.
two guys that would stay home and take care of the kids. I
Okay.
remember them, and of course the guy in the back who ended up doing funniest home videos later on,
Bob
Saget.
Secrets.
Bob
Saget.
Saget.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
him. Like I said, I remember the kids. I remember the two guys that used to take care of the kids, and then I remember Bob Saget. But the rest of them, they
Okay.
just I can't help you.
No
But
worries.
Mary Kate and Ashley, I definitely remember them.
Okay. I didn't remember that until you said it. Lady Gray, what did you remember of the show?
I remember this one. I thought it was fun. It was a different concept, and they definitely used the fact that it was a bunch of men taking care of a bunch of women, so you had a lot of comic relief there. Um, one of the odd things I remember is the blonde haired one, Uncle Joey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you remember the song from Alanis Morissette, that breakup song, "You Ought to Know,"
Mm.
it was written about him, and I remember at the time he played such a wholesome character on TV that when that song came out, it's like Uncle Joey. But
Oh,
yeah, I don't I remember it, but I don't remember a lot of details other than it was pretty funny.
okay. I didn't know about Alanis Morissette, so that's something.
Yeah, she apparently
Okay.
they had dated, and when they broke up, she wrote that song "You Ought to Know" about him. Is always been the
The rumor.
rumor, yeah, that it was a
Okay.
secretly about him.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Interesting. Just learned something I didn't know. Alrighty, the next show came out in 1985. They worked at the Phoenix Foundation, and it's where we call it, I'm going to MacGyver it. And Miss Liz apparently have the CD. She loves Richard Gene Anderson. Miss Liz, take it with you.
Oh, wow, man. He was my man back then. I'm rewatching the series, by the way.
Okay.
I'm up to third season now, and yes, uh, see, I knew about Richard Dean when he was in General Hospital, but he only had a small part in that. He was some doctor. But when he became MacGyver, I mean, he's become a cultural icon. I mean, whenever you say you're going to fix something, you say you're going to MacGyver it, and stuff like that. I mean, he's just and the action adventure and the stories and the fact that he was extremely good looking. um and very eligible. um but I mean, the storylines were fabulous. Almost all the stories were great. We got introduced to a couple of big name stars that later on became big name stars. Bruce McGill and Terry Garr. And then, would you believe it? There are about a dozen, at least a dozen Star Trek people in the episodes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's all Nana Visitor, uh, Renee's in there, uh, George Takei.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, there are quite a few Star Trek people that have parts and whatnot in the series. And I'd totally forgotten about that until I started rewatching the series, and I went, "Oh my God, I know who that is!" I know.
80s TV shows had a lot of guest stars. Now that
Yeah.
you said that, Miss Liz, they had their core people that was, always in the show,
Oh,
and a
Bruce
lot
McGill
of
was
guest
on there quite a
stars.
few
So
times.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I like the one guy going blind, and they wrote him until he's going blind to keep him working.
Pete. Pete,
Oh,
he was
yes,
the head of the Phoenix Foundation, and
yes.
the last 2 seasons or so, he got an eye disease and he went blind.
Okay, okay,
Uh, for real, it wasn't just the storyline in the series. He for real went. He lost his sight.
okay.
I
That's
don't
good.
remember
That
what it
shows you that.
was, but I just know that like glaucoma or something like that, and he lost his sight. So I think it was like the last 2 seasons or something like that of MacGyver.
Okay.
And like I said, there's quite a few people that got their starts in the TV
TV shows
business
and
and
business
whatnot
because of that show.
because of MacGyver. I mean,
Okay.
this that episode I really like it with Georgia Decay in it. The only bad part about that one is he dies. He got killed by the bad guy, but it was a good episode. And then there's that one Chinese Mandarin guy that we've seen him in a lot of movies where he's played good guys and bad guys, and I cannot remember his name because he's got one of those Chinese names you can't remember. But the minute you see his face, you know him.
Okay. Good. A lot of guest stars. A lot of guest stars.
He was um, Lethal Weapon. He was in a couple of the Lethal Weapon episodes. He was yeah. Oh yes, and don't forget the guy that played Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
I
A
mean,
good
he went
villain.
on to do all kinds of other things, but nobody will ever forget Murdoch.
True that. True
And
that.
every time you think you've killed him off, he shows up again. He
True that.
always manages
Villains did that a lot.
I like
Miss Lady.
I like this MacGyver's Murdoch better than I like the remake of MacGyver Murdoch.
Okay.
At least the other Murdoch from this MacGyver, uh, you kind of almost like him, even though he's so bad. I
True
mean,
that.
he's so wicked and whatnot, but he's unlike the other guy. At least he's how you dislike Loki, but you like Loki,
True that. True that. True
that
that.
kind of thing.
True that. All right. We're gonna let Miss Lady Gray. Did you watch MacGyver, Lady Gray?
I did, and I want to, like Miss Liz said, I like the storyline. There were always really good storylines. I think one of the things that a lot of shows do today, they try and have so many subplots going on that that episodic format where you get a nice little encapsulated story in one episode gets lost. And sometimes, an hour is all I could carve out of a day. So I love that you can get with MacGyver. You got in an hour's time slot, you got a lot of adventure, you know. I don't think they write shows like that as much anymore, and he just played the character so well. It was so believable that you genuinely thought he was that much of a genius, you know. So I don't know. I liked it. I'm not gonna. I'm not a super fan like Miss Liz, but I enjoyed it.
I love that you made that statement, Lady Gray, because I 100% agree with you. I don't have a problem with a few episodes showing one storyline, but right now in the last quite a few years, the whole season's about the one bad guy or them trying to do something. And if you miss, you can't just start watching the show in the middle of the season. You got to start all over to the beginning to
Yeah.
watch it, and might not be able to really catch up. So Mark and I has had that conversation. I don't know how many times. You can have a two-parter, you can even have a three-parter, but I really hate how TV, in the past, I don't know how many years, the whole freaking season. It's like, come on, let me see something different.
It's like I think of it as a soap opera format
Yeah.
where you have the whole, you just keep going and you can't just jump in and jump out. Um, and don't even get me started on like these seasons that are like 8 episodes. I want to be, the 80s kid me wants to go, that's not a season, that's a mini series.
Yes.
I know,
Yes.
and I don't mind it, you know, per se. Like right now, I'm watching Wednesday, so I'm loving that. We're gonna have like 8 episodes, but it's a mini series. It's not a season.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Sorry.
No, no, no. Actually, I thought about doing, something like that in the future. I haven't watched Wednesday yet. I've thought about it. I was just talking to my daughter about it
I think you like it.
yesterday.
I think you like it.
So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it. All right. This show came out in 82. Michael J. Fox, he was a Republican. He loved Ronald Reagan. I just watched Back to the Future just the other day and just sat there and just smiled. I am talking about Family Ties. It dealt with issues from the family. Originally, the mother and father of the show was the key people that were supposed to pretty much run the show. And obviously, once Michael J. Fox got into it, that changed. And of course, I'm talking about Family Ties. Miss Liz, did you watch this show back in the 80s?
Oh yeah, because I like Michael J. Fox, and I never was really big on his character. I just liked his acting, and yeah, I think once he got in the show, they started zoning in on him instead of the rest of the family. I think I kind of miss the fact that they didn't cover the rest of the family too, instead of just constantly Michael. But it was good. He was good acting, but that's pretty much it. Like you said, uh, it was supposed to be a whole family, and it ended up being Michael.
True. True that. True that. Okay. Miss Gray, what did you think about Family Ties?
I think part of the reason he jumped to the forefront so much was because he was kind of the oddball out in his family. The rest of the family, is like, I think his parents worked at like PBS and everything, and then you have this staunch Republican that's like on the other side. He was just like the oddball out in his family, and I think a lot of us back then felt kind of like oddballs. So I think that's why he got to be so popular, was because people related to him. Maybe not the young Republican thing, but the whole not quite fitting in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and the fact that he was kind of cute. Didn't hurt either.
Yeah. Hmm. I thought the Republican aspect of it, I mean, was interesting. We all laughed.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Alrighty, this next show was towards the end of the 80s, 1989, and he was stuck. He never went home. And I am talking about Scott and Ziggy and Al, and it is Quantum Leap. That ran for 5 seasons. Good show. I watched it. I remember at the end, there you go. He never made it home. I mean, they tried to do a remake about it a couple of years ago, which I think was 2 or 3 seasons, if I recall. I always hated that he never made it home. I always thought that was kind of sad way for them to end his character that we all grew and loved. Basically, he was leaping through time, going inside people's bodies, and he kind of had to fix something that went wrong in their life for them to be able to, have a, I guess, good and prosperous life. Miss Liz, did you watch Quantum Leap? I know you did.
I love Quantum Leap. I watched it because I like Dean Stockwell. I learned to like Scott Bakula, but the whole reason I watched Quantum Leap was because of Dean Stockwell, because I was a Dean Stockwell fan from my childhood on. I mean, he was a child actor, and I was a child, and I started watching his movies, and that was it. I was a Dean Stockwell fan from get go, and yes, I was not happy with the fact they did not let him go home, but the things that poor man had to go through. I mean, he jumped into ladies. He had to play a lady on several occasions. And one of the roughest ones he ever had to do was when he had to play a black man during the segregation, when black people were considered, you know, let's put it bluntly, yeah, they were not considered, what do you call lower class citizens? I think that's what they called it, or something like that. They
Yeah. Yeah.
segregated them in the whole bit,
Hmm.
and that was a poignant episode where he was had to play the black gentleman, and but some of the ones that really made me laugh were the ones where he had to play a lady. He was a guy in a lady's and a
It
lady's
was
and then of course that one where he was playing the lady and she was very pregnant. And stuff like that. I mean, but I always liked Al. I mean, Al was the comic relief. And
definitely a really good show. Really good show.
I
Wish
have it
he
on
would have.
DVD, by the way.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet you do. Yeah, he gave birth. I literally remember that episode. Um, Lady Gray, did you watch Quantum Leap? Either this style of version of it.
Oh well, I haven't watched the new one, but I definitely watched the original. I love this show. Um, Goes back to what we were just saying, the episodic format.
Hmm.
This show did such a good job giving you so much of a story in 1 hour. It was just, again, they don't write them like that. Definitely gives new meaning to walking in someone else's shoes.
Oh yeah.
Um, I know there was the one episode where he plays a woman, and this guy comes along and thinks he's going to bully her and push her around and attack her, and he gives him what for and kicks his tail. And I know when that man finally went down, everybody had to be sitting there going, yes, you know, try picking on somebody your own size. Um, so I don't know. I liked it. I did think it was sad that he didn't get to go home, but I think they left it kind of open on, or well, I like to think they left it open on purpose, open ended, that as if to say there's no end to the adventure, so to speak.
True. True. I mean, that's in a way an interesting way of putting it. I mean, I never really thought that. I mean, for me, I wanted to be a happy ending, that he kept on doing it. He found the way back to his, to his home. I mean, I did watch the newer series where they kind of was searching for him throughout time. That was pretty much the concept of
Okay.
this one, and it ended, and I thought that was a pretty decent show too. But I didn't get my happy ending with this one, so I think that was kind of sad.
And then I remember when he jumped into his brother during this Korean War or Vietnam or whatever it was. I mean, that was a heart wrenching episode.
I don't remember, like, only remember my favorite episode. So that one, Miss Liz, I don't remember. I remember the one that you said, he wins the football, the basketball, the baseball player, and
Oh yeah,
I said, he met the devil. I met that one, and he gave birth. So, but either way, really, really good shows, and
a
I
lot of
really wish they
topics.
would do that more. All right, I got a couple more that I'm going to try to do quickly tonight. Now, I know this next show came out in '84. The main character had some issues in the later years of his life. However, The Cosby Show was a mainstream major show. It lasted 8 seasons. Of course, it was Bill Cosby, Malcolm Jamal Warner, who recently just passed. Um, there were the Huxtables. They had the kids. Um, in my home, we watched it, and we watched it. I think it came on Thursdays nights. It was nice to see a black couple living the way they were. She being a lawyer, he being a doctor. I have to admit, later on in years, we're kind of like, okay, that's not how black people is. I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but it was still funny. It was just kind of out of touch a little bit because we just didn't. I did not see that growing up in my life. But the Cosby Show was really, really big. Miss Liz, did you watch the show?
Every week I always watched the Cosby Show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's all I can really remember is the fact that we watched it always. And and boy, did they have a lot of money in their family.
Yeah, which is
I
good.
did remember that because
Which
I
is
don't
good.
remember ever in my family ever having that much. They were well off.
Definitely, definitely. And I know how she never took crap from anyone. Yeah, Claire. She was definitely the woman of the house. He more sat there and smiled at her, but she definitely was in charge over him and the kids. Lady Gray, The Cosby Show.
I was 1984, so I would have been fairly young when this came out. Um, like 12 years old or so, 12, 13. I remember, I know I watched it, and what I remember about it is thinking what a perfect family they were because they were like the right blend of funny and caring and open minded and everything. I don't know. Like you said, it may be a little out of touch with reality, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shows back then were out of touch with reality. You had Brady Bunch and all of
True.
those leading up to that. That's not reality. So I don't know. I remember I enjoyed it, but
Okay.
yeah.
No worries. No worries. All right. I got two more that I want to go through quickly. 87. The Bundys, you got Al, Peggy, Kelly, and Bud. He was an ex-football player, which he kind of mentioned almost on every episode. They were funny, and I love the show. So there we go. I mean, their life has changed since the show came out in '87, but it was funny, and he really wasn't a kind guy, so to speak, but it was just funny.
No,
You
no,
have the Dipsy blonde, the smart son, and then, the lazy housewife. I saw you shake your head, Miss Liz, so I can only
Never
assume you
watched
didn't
it.
really watch it. Okay.
Nope, did not watch it.
Okay. It was funny. It was funny. I'm gonna go ahead and go to Miss Lady Gray. I saw her shaking her head. She watched it.
I watched this afternoon. So it's coming. It come, and I say this afternoon, this evening. When I got home from work, it was on the TV because we put on just like old me TV type shows that just play as background noise for the animals during the day. And I got home and it was on TV, and my son was sitting downstairs. And I'm like, you don't have to leave this on. I just put this on for the animals. He's like, what? This is funny. So we sat and watched an episode of Married with Children this afternoon. But and I had to explain to him that how groundbreaking the show was, because before the show, you had like the perfection, like we were just talking about. It wasn't in touch with reality. Everything was perfect and roses. And then you had the Bundys. And I remember back at the time watching the Bundys thinking, gosh, this is the most realistic thing I've ever seen on TV. But it's just funny that I watched one today. I actually watched one just like a couple hours ago on a rerun. And my 19-year-old son was like, that's just funny.
It was a funny show. Would I watch it today? Maybe I won't probably sit down to see all 11 seasons that it was on. But I'm gonna be honest, if I'm flipping the station and I saw that it's on, I might turn to it just it's a good stupid laugh, I mean, Kelly, she was just as dumb blonde as blonde can be, but it was freaking hilarious.
Well,
all right, I am only gonna do one more show tonight, and all three of us, I do believe, love Star Trek. It came out in 1987 and ran for 8 seasons. You have, there you go, the Next Gen, the Enterprise D, which was one of my favorite ships until the E came out. Great. I mean, Star Trek came out in the late 60s. They started doing movies, and then this came out in 87. It just, for me, it just broke the rules. You still had your episodes where, yeah, they were on the ship, there was exploring, but once again, like Lady Gray said earlier, this episode was about this alien. This episode was about, them exploring this planet, and I really love that about, Next Generation. I tell people, when they ask, hey, look, why do you like sci-fi? What got you into sci-fi? And a lot of the times I'll say Star Trek. It wasn't just about white people, black people. It was different races. I love the idea, week by week, they had a different adventure, and it was in space on a cool ship, even though the E is better. Miss Liz, what did you think about Next Gen?
Oh, I love Next Gen. Of course, I will always be a classic Trek because that's what I started with. But I love Next Gen. If I'm going to go to the next one of my favorites of all the Star Treks, Next Gen would be number 2,
Okay.
and then Deep Space Nine.
Nice. Pigs in space. I don't know why people will, somebody said that, but we're just gonna, act like we don't see that from Marky Mark. Lady Gray.
I love Worf. Worf is one of my favorite people. I love Geordi. I love Worf. I mean, Picard was totally different from Captain Kirk. He was very cerebral. He was very diplomatic. He was smart, and he held himself up remarkably well.
Yes.
And
Yes, he did.
And the one thing I never really understood through the whole thing is why Riker never got his own command.
Well, he
I
did
mean,
later on. Later on, it wasn't his show. It was,
I know,
he
but
couldn't have his
eventually, you
own
would think
command and still
eventually
be part of
he
this
would have
group.
gotten promoted, because he was smart too.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be. I wouldn't have him on the show if he got promoted. It was about the Enterprise D and their what they
Yeah,
were
but
going
then when they
through on
went
the
to the
show.
movies, he never got promoted to have his own.
Then he would have been in the movies. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
we
would have. I
saw,
mean, we had George Takei get promoted to
and
captain,
he
and he
wasn't
didn't
in
jump ship.
that movie as long as everybody else was. But that's for another story, Miss Liz. Lady Gray, what did you think about Next Gen?
I liked it. I think one of the things that made it work was how different those characters were from the original series. They didn't try and bring Kirk 2.0. It was Picard. He was so completely different, like Miss Liz was saying, that it made it interesting. I actually kind of feel like with Next Generation, they developed the characters a lot better than they
Mm-hmm.
did on the original series. But of course, the original they only had 3 seasons, so um, I like it. Don't shoot me. It's not my favorite Star Trek. I've always been a Voyager fan because I like Janeway. But you know, I did like it, and I remember watching it at the time. It was something that I would seek out to watch, even
Okay.
though at the time that it came out, I was like I had a little one at home, so finding time to watch TV was hard.
I must not had too much to do back then because I watched a lot of shows in the 80s.
I was going to school and I had a little one and I was working, so I
Okay,
didn't have a lot of time. But
I digress. Okay.
yeah, Next Gen was one I would seek out in the rare moments I did have.
Okay. Okay. Me and my dad watch it together. So, and I was a daddy girl. So, of course, I'm going to watch that with him.
Yep.
All right. So, that's kind of, I had more, but it looked like time is creeping up. So, I would like for Miss Lady, Lady Gray and Miss Liz name one 80 TV show. It probably on my list, but name one that you really liked, and if you can talk about it for like 30 seconds before we end today's show. I'm going to go with Miss Liz first.
Well, I'm
Just
not really
one, 30
sure.
seconds.
I can't think of anything right off the bat because I don't think Babylon 5 was in the 80s.
No, it
And
wasn't.
and I don't think because I watched a lot of sci-fi back in the 80s. So
Well, I'm going to revisit this question when we do part 2.
yeah,
So I'm going to let you think about it until
yeah,
then.
I'll do some research. I'll look it up, see what I
Yes,
can
ma'am.
find that I can actually go. Okay, I watched that because we already covered the two that I watched the most, and that
Okay.
was Quantum Leap and MacGyver. You know.
All right. All right. Miss Lady Gray?
So I had one in mind, but then I got to thinking, I think it might be the early 90s. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's called Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's one my daughter and I used to watch together.
Are you afraid of the dark? I don't have that one up here.
It
So
was a
that one, I'm not sure when.
it was a
Tell
group
us about that one though.
it was a group of kids, and they called themselves the Midnight Society, and they would get together in like the woods behind their house. They had like a bonfire circle, and each week one of them would tell a story, like a horror story, kind of like Goosebumps, and to see who would tell the best story. And if your story was approved, yay. If not, then you got picked on like the whole walk home. Um, so you got a different story each week, but you had this core group. I don't know. It was like the beginnings of my daughter and I used to like to watch like horror type shows together, and that was where it came from. This group of kids, but like I said, I can't remember if that's early '90s or late '80s.
I feel like it was 80s. I remember watching that, so I really feel like late '80s. But I'm gonna look that one up. I know one of the shows that you mentioned was Unsolved Mysteries, and that's an
Oh
'80s
yes, that's
show.
Unsolved
I watched
Mysteries.
that one,
And
Yep.
Unsolved Mysteries.
you
Yeah,
know, so that kind of remind me a little bit of that, where some of the episodes kind of freaked me out a little
I
bit.
definitely watched that.
Yep.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, as I said on the beginning of the show, there's a lot more '80s shows, and we're going to go ahead and revisit that another time. I do want to thank Miss Lady Gray, Miss Liz, for us going down the memory lane of some of these '80s shows that we kind of remember from our childhood. There's just so many of them. I mean, I can probably do so many shows that I like, Lady Gray, Miss Liz like, from movies to cartoons. To me, the '80s was just awesome. I mean, even the music, which I haven't even mentioned, '80s music. Oh my God. So to me, '80s rocked. Thank you everyone that watched us today. Please like and subscribe, and we will see y'all in about 2 weeks.